Hello and welcome to your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 29th of May for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you an overview which we can all relate to collectively, but please stay with me. I will explore in much greater detail all the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces. If you're new here, it's great to have you with us. This is very much a community. Do share any thoughts you have. I try to interact with each one, but please also subscribe by clicking or tapping on the bell notification symbol. As this week begins, so the Sun is in a very enthusiastic and energizing link with Mars. The Sun's in Gemini, which is fleet-footed, loves lots of quick, short, but bright conversations and has an appetite for everyday knowledge and information. Mars in the proud Leo is a really wonderful location for Mars. It's pushing us to manifest our talents wherever we can. It's just that despite their vibrant link, Saturn is being somewhat of a spoilsport, located in house 12, which can be to do with the people who are not necessarily on our side, or the more psychological or subconscious strands of our situation. Saturn is in a right angle with the Sun, which can slow things down, but it's also in a triangle with Mars. And if we don't really target our efforts in a very focused way, we could end up feeling a bit frustrated at the start of this week. But Wednesday, fortunately, sees Mercury emerge from its post-retrograde shadow. If we go back to the 4th of April, when Mercury moved into Taurus, by the 7th, it started to slow down and go into its pre-retrograde shadow. The retrograde itself began on the 21st of April and ended on the 15th of May. But if anything to do with finance has felt sluggish, has slowed down for you, or you've been waiting for some information or news, the chances are you're going to get that confirmation in the second half of this week as Mercury comes out of shadow, which is like a mini retrograde, but also aligns with the bright energies of Uranus, which is very much about truths. So Uranus in Taurus is joined by Mercury, and some information can come into the open which provides some real illumination, particularly if you have been feeling that things just aren't shifting. Now Venus is the ruler of the sign of Taurus and therefore intrinsically linked to everyday finance, but is currently in the feeling sign of Cancer, and it forges a quite enchanting link with Neptune in the second half of this week. If you're lucky enough to be involved in a friendship, association, or personal relationship, which really is lovely, you can celebrate this with that other person in the latter part of this week. But Venus is also in a direct opposition with Pluto, and that can bring a much more political vibe to bear. But overall, the two influences involving Venus ask us to really count our blessings in terms of our associations, but also appreciate what our core values are, which provide our sense of security, with Venus being in the sign of security, Cancer. But as the week draws to a close, we do have the full moon, the Sagittarius strawberry full moon. So this can be a crop of strawberries, if we like, over the next couple of weeks, but it can also see some strident conversations. The sign of Sagittarius loves openness and can be quite frank, but it's also about higher truths, whereas the Sun in Gemini is about those everyday quick moving chats that are not necessarily always so deep and thought through. So there could be some kind of discussion that manifests itself at the end of this week. If it's about money, if it's about our core values, our self-worth, or a relationship, it really wouldn't be a surprise. But something may need to come into the open which provides illumination, but it could be a little bit uncomfortable hearing what someone has to say. Now, if you would like to learn much more deeply how astrology can have such a profound impact on your life, if you give me 3 pieces of personal birth data, of time, date and place of birth, I can produce for you your life roadmap report. This will give you an intimate understanding of the patterns that have played out in your existence so far. In my special offer of 30% off, you can also get your 12-month forecast, totally unique to you, these reports, and that will give you Syrian insights. If you don't know your time, my new solar reports based on the sun can also be invaluable to you. Please see the links below for more. So Libra, your week commencing the 29th of May forecast sees the sun in your sister air sign of Gemini, very much about communication, in a brilliant angle with Mars in the 11th house. Now, the 11th house can be very much about our network, our friendship, and the 9th house about adventure, independence, travel, higher education, philosophy. So if you're connecting with others in an exciting way, whether it's through a team sport, some kind of collaborative effort, perhaps in terms of a band or some kind of local activity, that can create a lot of buzz and a lot of spark for you. It's just that Saturn is in your sector of duty and applying to both the Sun and also Mars. So if you have got things that really you should be mindful of in terms of obligations, it could just see you feeling a bit resentful or a bit frustrated that you can't quite go for it in the way that you would like. However, Wednesday's a key day because Mercury emerges from its post-retrograde shadow. If you have gone through a long period of trying to work things out in terms of longer term financial planning, which many of us have, or it's something to do with a business situation, or you're waiting to hear some information on a finance application or a mortgage, I think this will really help. And also, Mercury then aligns with Uranus, and together with Jupiter, the planet of growth, being in this sector from the middle of May, suddenly things that have felt very sluggish and stuck can really speed up and get clarified. Now, your ruling planet Venus is forging a really beautiful link to Neptune in the second half of this week. And Venus is in the part of your situation that's very much to do with your responsibilities and obligations, but more in terms of where you connect with the wider world. So usually work, but of course Venus can be about relating, but it also can be about money. So the link with Neptune suggests that some goodwill that you've shown in the past can come back to you. Someone could be very, very helpful to you, and that can actually be very gratifying. But also Venus does go into an opposition with Pluto. This is a supercharged link which can rev up our desires. And maybe it's around a property matter or a family situation that you could find yourself toggling some kind of intense need, Pluto, against what will seem gracious and perhaps appropriate as far as your interactions with others. But as the week draws to a close, the full moon is triggering the 3rd and 9th houses. So the full moon's in house 3, that's to do with quick communication, the sun in house 9, that higher philosophy, and perhaps over the following 2 weeks there is going to be a lot of conversation, a lot of interaction, perhaps sharing of opinions, perhaps even the chance to travel, but it could happen quite quickly. You're going to be on the move as this week draws to a close, Libra, whether it's in your mind, your thinking, or your actions. So I think on the whole, a really exciting week, but you will just have to be mindful of those obligations and responsibilities.